Now, in this today, that I myself, Priya Ranjan Panigrahi, I'm the co-founder of the Sufficing and DataArchiva team, and along with me, I do have Arnav and Nanda, and we will be talking and discussing about what are the changes in the FAT, Spring 19, and we need to understand that. So now with this, I would like to move it to the next part. And before I start with, I wanted to with the safe harbor statement that whatever we are talking about here, that should not be part of your product decision. Rather, you have to go through that, like the other documentation before you take your final decision. Okay, so Nanda, wanted to have introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Nandakumar and I'm the CTO here. So I take care of the product and the complete architecture of DataArchiva and a couple of other products here. So that's a quick intro of me.
Great. So let's try to understand what is this field audit trail changes. We do see there are a lot of things which are coming here. Yeah, a lot of things which are coming over here. Now, before that, let's try to understand what is this and why we needed that, right? So let's have an, now you wanted to explain that why we required this field audit trail.
Yeah, so basically it kind of depends on the industry and your organization requirement. This is one of the fundamental need for many industries, be it in a medical or food industry. They do have a retention policy, plus they also need this data for any future forensic analysis or any kind of data state that you wanted to know, over time. And then audit becomes a very important thing to have it in your org, and that's one of the primary thing.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share with one example there, the state of the data, as you mentioned here, state of the data, any date and time, one of the customer, and they are managing the licenses in the Salesforce system itself, and then some license expiry date has been, like it has been expired and unintentionally by one of the account executive, and they don't have any idea that who has changed and all that. So this state of data would definitely help if you have that audit trail enabled for that particular objective. It help you to track down that what was the old value of the license, how many seats and what sort of the expiration date, and then you can figure out that who has changed and how it has been changed, and you can put it back into that. So that would help who has changed and what time, what sort of data it was there. That also helps you to keep the data, right?
And also some of it are very mandate. For example, if you're in a medical industry, keeping track of all your change becomes a mandate, and it's a regulation stuff that you have to follow. So in that case, auditing becomes a very mandate essential stuff to have it in an org.
Yeah, but let's understand that where it started this field audit trail, right? If you look at the any organization, any Salesforce customer, they have already been using Salesforce before June 2011, then they are all good. They know that nothing has been impacted to them. But if anybody who is in July 2011 onwards, and the changes is impacting to them, but is it happened right now, or it was been quite some time that it's still there in the system? So if you look at there in the Spring 15, so 3-4 years ago that Salesforce has started this. Now they have analyzed that the data which is generated through this audit data is become now lot of data, and that's where that big data has been introduced by the Salesforce platform, and Salesforce internally use a big data system to keep all this data which can be stored billions and trillions of records of data with scale. So that's where the Spring 15 they have introduced a new feature, or like a new add-on, you can say, that field audit trail, which allow you to store the data with a very configurable option, and you can store that as long as that you want, you can store in your system. So it support both custom object and standard object, all these things they support that one. And and then you can store the by default 18 to 24 months it can store, but up to 8-10 years you can configure that your object into that one. So but in the Spring 19, which is like a couple of weeks ago, it has been mandated, it has been, the retention has been enforced, that if the audit data which is still there in the system more than 24 months, then definitely it is going to be queued for a deletion. That means Salesforce is going to delete that audit data if customer has not taken care of their old audit data. And that would be the one of the reason that we try to create this webinar to inform and to educate that how it is impacting to your audit data. If you really care for your audit data, then you have to be take the action as soon as possible before it's too late.
Priya, I have a question from one of the audience. He asks, from when the data beyond 24 months will start getting deleted from Salesforce? In other words, probably he's trying to ask, since Salesforce claimed data will be deleted beyond 24 months, from when it is active,
It has already been active, Nanda, but it is. I think the customer has to reach out the Salesforce account executive, and they are definitely going to inform you and help you that how you are going to use that new FAT product that it comes with that kind of add-on, and but it has already been activated by February 10th or 11th. I don't know what exactly, and it has already been there. But as far as I know, there are certain customers we checked with them. The data is not yet deleted, and customers are still thinking that what sort of the best options. Even the customers are not aware of today what sort of options they do have today, so that they can take a call or and they what sort of best strategies for them to handle this kind of things. Okay, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Thanks, Priya.
So let's go to that and look for that options here. And the options are, we try to categorize into a 4 category of the options. And it's basically there are like a very small Salesforce customer having 1 or 2 user license with professional and enterprise. And they do have options. They can delete the data, or they even don't care about that, depend on the which industry they follow, or they can download the data using the data loader or any other export tool, and they can keep it in any secure storage system if they want. And but for enterprise, of course, that is not at all an option for the enterprise at all. So for enterprise now, they can build something like a customized solution. They can build it because now the big object is available, and even the standard objects, they can retain the data into a standard custom object, or they can create a custom big object and they can keep it also the data. And the other options is that they can go with this new Salesforce FAT add-on which comes in the Shield. And if you are already using Shield, then it is by default available in FAT add-on. If you are not using Shield, probably you can still reach out to your Salesforce account executive and enable as soon as possible. Or the fourth option we would like to talk about, like any third-party solutions, maybe a Salesforce approved solutions in App Exchange if it is there, or it's in outside solutions. Then in the, for example, you are talking with the DataArchiva, that DataArchiva also come up with an option. Then let's try to understand that how DataArchiva helps here for that field audit trail, the retention problem. So once we have these options, now let's do a deep diving on what exactly. Now, as you know, this customized solution, the data loader is something that we need to discuss in more in depth. But more important that we need to understand that what is this FAT add-on from the Salesforce product, how it works, and let's understand more about this one. For the sake of understanding and simplicity, we try to put one object, but technically what you see in the contact, it could be any custom or standard object. And as you know, once you enable the field audit trail, the history tracking, of course, the contact history records are getting created as soon as the data get changes or any will happen, that one. And now this is coming a new things, which is the big object we are talking about, the field history archive. And that is what it comes with the FAT add-on product. So what it does actually, in this particular contact object, you need to use some metadata and tooling API to, you can look at this history retention policy, that you can mention that after how many months you want to archive your history data and how long you want to keep that one. And this kind of policy that you need to do for each object, you need to update that metadata through the tooling API or the XML, in that way. And this particular things is going to automatically handled or automatically going to take care all your history data to the field history data. Now you would be wondering here, the contact could have a contact history, account could have another account history, and even same custom object could have a custom object, no, custom history object. But all the history object data would be going to only one field history archive. So how to access the data, right? And as a big object, as you know, big object out of the box, it supports a asynchronous SQL because big objects are built to handle that billions of records, and that's where you probably require asynchronous SQL so that it can dump the data into a custom object, and you can do some analyze on that one. But one more part, the Einstein analytics is also by default support to the any big object out of the box. So any admin or anybody who wanted to analyze the data also, they can directly use that one. And the big object also support the data loader or any API, just like another standard object and custom object, they can query the data. And if you look at here in this query, support the SOQL, but that below query is the example of one of the SOQL. It was a pretty simple SOQL query, the way that we use in the customer standard object. It talks about select parent ID, field history type, and whether the field history type is going to give you contact or account, and then which is the field and old value and a new value from the field history archive table, where the parent ID is the one of the contact. So it is going to pull down all the contact history data. So this history data, the way that you see today, that history component or like as a page layout, you see the contact history data. Now, once you have the, you probably need to have a separate component to be built to get the data and going to put it into the same contact. So that's kind of a little work for a developer or for somebody from technical background or admin, that you need to do that to support this part. And this is one of the part of the entire that FAT part. You can this one. So any questions we get on the here?
One more question. They're asking about the size. Is there any size limit with the big object and the amount of data that can go in there?
No, it's a beautiful thing. Let me take that one. That's what the big object stands for. When you talk about a big object, that the size is not a limit, and like it can hold a billions of record, 100 billion, like and a trillions of record into the big object. And the purpose of the big object for multiple use cases, but this is one of the standard purpose, like the Salesforce has built in so many years ago, and it was available here. So size is not at all a issue in the big object, and that they 120 maximum, it takes 120 seconds to get your data back from big object, irrespective of how much data big object can store.
And also, I believe the customer need not buy any extra storage with respect to big object.
No, they don't need to.
Which they anyways give it.
Exactly, an FAT add-on comes with that big object storage, and that once you purchase that FAT add-on, probably the storage is by default it's free and kind of a part of that the add-on itself. So now let's talk about then what is the changes between like a DataArchiva or Field Audit Trail it supports. So Nanda, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So thanks, Priya. So I mean, Priya was talking about the 4 different various way where you can solve this auditing problem. And among them, one of them is using the DataArchiva, the product that we built based on our customer pain points. We just fill that gap. And the features, if you see, basically, it supports both standard and custom objects. You can archive the entire field history of that. And it is also using the big object. You can retain this data any longer amount of time as long as you want it. And we support both Lightning and Classic. And the another important feature is the data integrity. From the parent record, you can very well link all the audit data back to that record. You don't have to really go and search the big object. It's very well integrated. I will show it in the demo following with this after the presentation, and it's pretty easy. You don't need to. It's more like a no-brainer kind of DUI, do-it-yourself things. Hardly it takes a few minutes to set up, and once it is set up, it's all set. Everything it's taken care on the hood, on the backside, under the hood. And you can also schedule it, how periodically you want it, either you want it weekly, monthly, so that the entire copying of the audit data, the big objects takes care by the DataArchiva. So these are very high level, what that you can do with DataArchiva.
Yeah, I'm just reading one question, Nanda. Here, somebody is asking that are we having showing a demo? Of course, that
Yes.
is what we wanted. We don't want to be, talk about this information. There are plenty of information outside in the Salesforce. So why don't you, Nanda, go ahead and start talking the demo?
Yeah,
and
sure, Priya.
let's share the desktop sharing. Yeah, so with this one,
yeah. So, so once you install the DataArchiva, you get a whole lot of things in that. One of the feature is the field audit trial part. You can see the screen that I shared it. So you can select the object, whichever the field history that you want to archive. Here you can see both standard and custom. And in case if you have a number of objects, you can quickly search also. Like let's say I say opportunity, and all I need to do is check this one and save it. So now this is kind of considered for taking a copy of your audit history into the big object. And in addition, we also have this schedule. So you can see that it's already been scheduled to run every month once. You can change that monthly or a weekly, and which day of the month, and also preferred time, when you wanted to do this. And mostly it's preferable always to have it on a monthly, because anyway Salesforce retains your data for 18 months. So you can archive any monthly or things like that. That should mostly work for most of the customers. And let me show you once the data is moved on to the big object, how you can pull this from your parent account record. For the sake of demo, I just kept everything ready. So here you can see I have an account record, and this is the field history coming up from the big object. So you need to go and search explicitly. It's all integrated, and the data integrity is well maintained. Any record you go, you can actually see all the field history with respect to this record. And for example, let's say you can see the what operation it happened, and what was the old value and the new value, and all those things. You can kind of look at it here. For example, the text field, which field got changed with what was the old and the new value. Third thing is, since the data is in the big object, you can also use the analytics to do any kind of coding or any kind of analytics on top of that. So I just created a simple, a report based on the analytics. You can see, for instance, let me. So this is purely an accounts object. All the data is pulled from there. And let's say I want filter based on first name, whatever got changed over time. I can see that probably 3 times it got changed, earlier from Robert to AD or something else. So this is a very basic report, as you know, and instant analytics is more powerful to do any kind of a complex reporting or any complex analytics that you can do. You can build anything that you wanted. So that's the 3 things I just quickly wanted to show you.
Yeah, I think it completely makes sense, Nanda. I think that is just so easy that how you schedule that as many objects at a time, and everything is taken care. So you don't need to worry about that metadata deployment nor like anything else, right? It just you select it and that's it, right? And the creation of a big object and everything taken care by the product itself.
Yes, because this requires no technical knowledge of anything. Any end users who wanted to take care of their field history, all they need to do is just install the DataArchiva, just go to this page, enable the objects they wanted to take care, and schedule it, and that's it. Rest all is taken care.
So one more interesting question, Nanda, I got from the and I think from Brett and asking, can I store my audit data in an external storage system? So he is trying to refer it here that they do have a in-house audit data warehouse system. They kept it, right? Is it possible that using this tool and we can move out? We don't want to keep it. So is it something possible?
Very much. No, we also have one more component of the product. We call it as data connectiva. That will kind of bridge our DataArchiva to any external cloud storage, or it could be even in-premise. So in this case, it's very much possible to pipe it to the audit data to your external storage, such as AWS or a Google or a Heroku for that matter. So it supports a variety of databases. So it's very much possible to do that.
Yeah, there's another question. Probably I can take that one. Do I need to purchase the Shield to use FAT add-on from Salesforce? No, of course not. The Shield by default comes three things. One is the encryption solution, the monitoring solution, as well the FAT. And I don't think you need to do that one. And if you are not using Shield, you want FAT add-on, please reach out to your account executive today and get that FAT add-on enabled to your system so before it's get deleted. So, and there is another question I want to take it this one. Okay, oh wow. There's somebody is talking about a system data. Now, this is all about the business data we are talking about. Now, how we are going to deal with the system data? So there is a system data which
you mean,
they are saying
the system audit.
System audit data, and they are saying that 6 months beyond that, Salesforce is taking that out. Is it some way that we can also keep it that in a big object or any other system that we wanted to do that?
Yeah, so that is also supported by DataArchiva. In addition to the field audit history, you can also track the system audit, all the system audit events. So for example, let's say some permission got added, revoked, or assigned to some users, the user got created. Any kind of system events, those things also can be, tracked and copied into your big object for any of your forensic analysis in the future. And especially this is very good for security analysis. Let's say if any security breach happened in your organization, if somebody have granted a permission or anything of that sort, you can always quickly go on run a report against that and quickly analyze those data. For any security compliance, I think it's a very good feature for those kind of requirements.
I see. So I think I will take that one last question that here we have like how we can use, like is this the standard report and dashboard can be used? So I can take that one. Of course, we use the standard report and dashboard, but let's talk about the FAT add-on or the DataArchiva or Field Audit Trail. Both use the big object. So for the big object, you have one option with Einstein Analytics, as Nanda just now showed that you can do any analytics on that one. But if you want to use report and dashboard, then you can use asynchronous SQL to dump the data into a custom object, and from there you can run your reports and any dashboard that you wanted to do for how long that you wanted to keep. Now there is one more that do I need to worry about the data size? Or I think that is the same question that we asked, and we have already handled that one. I think we said that yes, big object can take any number of data, and you no need to worry about the size.